Y'all stuff up top too. Um, Everybody, welcome back to another Three the Hard Way with two of my favorite people, Chris Stewart, Torraine Walker. I'm Dr. Charles Cole III, and again, we just come together, three brothers with some topics that's on our minds and our hearts. Have honest discourse about it. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but it's always in love and iron sharpening iron. But let me just check on the brothers real quick because I know I'm out on the road traveling. Torrin, while you get situated, let me start with you, Chris. How you doing, brother? What you got going on? Just check in with the people.
I'm blessed. I've been stressed a lot for a while now, but I think I gave up on being stressed a couple of days ago. I just, I had one of those moments where I was like, you know what? Yeah, who cares? Just about everything. So I'm good. I'm traveling. I'm in San Francisco. It's one of my favorite places. And
I'm in San Francisco. Well, I usually tell people.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always happy when I come here. It's my favorite place. Always has been.
I'll text you the hotel I'm at because people be crazy fans of shit. But I would let you know where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we're close by. But yeah, I'm good because of that. Because I haven't been traveling that much this year as an exiled education activist. So this is
that what you've been exiled?
I'm in exile. Yeah, I'm like in the ed reform version of Siberia. That's where I am. Yeah.
All right.
I'm sitting on the beach chewing fat. Yeah.
When you get through it, we'll have to make it a topic, brother. When you go on the other side. Torrin, how you doing, man? What's new with you, brother?
I'm good, brother. I've been good, man. Things are good on my end, man. Still holding it down in the ATL. I'm actually coming out of a block that I've been dealing with for the past 2 to 3 weeks, man. I've had this. I've been focused on some business concepts that I've been trying to formulate. You know how you have an idea that's kind of ruminating in your head, but you can't really crystallize it. So I finally got that. I finally got the concrete idea of what I wanted to make happen. So I'm feeling good, man. I'm coming into a new phase. Summer's coming here. It's getting hot, so I'm feeling good, man. It's good energy out here, so I'm maintaining. You're gonna see some new things happening up here soon.
Well, look, man, I will say you are consistent with where you do the show at and consistent with freezing, but we heard you the whole time. You sounded good. You wasn't a robot, but we'll let you know. But definitely let you know, man. I'm good, fellas. I am. There's a lot of big events happening. They're definitely, time sensitive, and I'm very I usually have a lot of things happening, so I have to be very coordinated with those things. But maybe I need to take some of what Chris got. There's a whole. You made me think of Cat Williams stand up, where he was like, then they invented this thing called weed, and it's just your problems just magically you just not worried about. F them lights,
yeah, your problems. No problem until you're unemployed.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I wouldn't really suggest that to other people. But we got 3 topics. Everybody brought what they had to the table. We want to start with good brother Torrin. Torrin, if you're ready, why don't you give us a rundown and then we can start discussing.
Okay, I'm ready. So my conversation tonight is going to be about the brother Rodney Hinton. A lot of y'all may not know him by name, but you've known the story that's going on. Rodney Hinton is the black man, a black father in Cincinnati, Ohio, who struck and killed a Ohio sheriff's officer, for some people allegedly saying retaliation for the shooting of his son in a police incident. This situation has caused a lot of conversation because it was sort of a local story until he went to his arraignment, and the courtroom was filled with cops. Now, this is a usual thing that cops do. Like when one cop is killed in the line of duty, they usually make a show showing up to the courthouse. Basically, some people say it's a form of intimidation or to show solidarity with the officer that's slain. But the difference is in this story is that after he was arraigned and taken back to his cell, Rodney Hinton basically looked these cops dead in their eyes, straight up, didn't blink, didn't stutter, didn't hold his head down, and walked right past all of them. Said, "I did what I did, and I said, I'm ready to roll with whatever it is." So there's been a lot of conversation about this. Some people are having the conversation about, is this something that was justified? Is this a new is this a turning of the page of the idea of black activism? Are we getting into what Malcolm said, although it's not the same thing, of an eye for an eye or by any means necessary? This is what people are talking about, but it's a sea change in the country right now that's really I feel like it's on the powder keg of some sort of big racial awakening, whatever that looks like coming in 2025. So this is my feeling about it. So I'd love to throw it over to you, brothers.
Chris, any thoughts?
So I want to make sure that I'm checking in on your framing, though. So you're framing it as, is this the new type of activism? Is this turning the page on the way that we fight back?
No, I'm not saying that it's the new type of activism, although there is some conversation out there saying that this is the sort of new type of activism that people are going to. What I'm thinking is this just a symptom of people who have had their backs against the wall and have dealt with police violence and dealt with police brutality? Is this somebody who just snaps? Or if we're going to get into, did he snap and just lose it at the death of his son? Why did he snap? And is this something that's been brewing in this country for a very long time? That's what I'm curious about, what it signifies.
I could tell you as a father that it could make you snap. Anything that happens to your children, it's a special kind of feeling, and it could make you snap. And I think if you already had a whole bunch going on in your life and in your mind, and to your point, you have been living in this country with the kind of the pressure that the country, we have a lot of people walking around in a pressure cooker. I don't think people know that. I don't think you know that you're sitting on the desk sometimes next to somebody that is in a pressure cooker. I don't think you know that you're sitting in a Waffle House sometimes next to somebody that is just one hair trigger away from wiping you because of the life that they're living and because of all the messages they're getting in, the country being this way. Wasn't there something like this, though? Do y'all remember in Texas, there was the brother who went on a rampage on the cops, and it was a BLM. He had like a BLM manifesto or something that he left behind.
Are you talking about I can't think of his name, but are you talking about the one they just hit the drone in to blow him up, that situation?
No, he ain't sent a drone in. I know you're talking about.
Not a drone, but a robot.
I can't remember how they got him. But it was a similar situation in that, he had been in a intellectual pressure cooker and snapped. But my thinking about it was, when this happens on the other side, they don't make it about their entire group of people. It's only us that they make it about, like, well, I wonder if it was racial or whatever, Dylan Roof and all those others. Didn't they took Dylan Roof to Burger King, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they arrested him, right? Like they gave him the special treatment. So I don't know what to say about this one, though, Torraine. Like the thing that happened just recently with the Luigi, I wrote something about that, saying, I feel like we're a sick country if we're cheering on that type of stuff, right? So I get it, but I can't, I can't rock with it.
Yeah, I have my reaction is, trying to take it all in, and I'm instantly thinking of A Time to Kill. Probably Samuel L. Jackson's, out of all his movies, probably one of his best performances, where they kept pushing him. And did they deserve to die? Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell after what they did to his daughter. And we know that, like, that's a movie, but like that has happened. And the way I think history will look at this, and I'm thinking about 50 years, 70 years from now, depending on what happens next, right? Like, a while ago we had Emmett Till and Mamie Till, and we had Mamie Till making the very bold decision at the time to leave that casket open. And this is in the lineage of that, but this father wasn't talking about a casket. He was talking about providing other caskets because he wanted an eye for an eye. Like you said, Chris, it's not about whether I condone it or not. It happened. And I don't know what's going to continue to happen, but I will say this. I think people are tired of burying their children. I think people, especially when you keep saying or keep talking about this racially blind society that people are building and racism is over, and then you kind of want to intimidate me. And I understand the police standing by their own when they lose one. Like there's a nuanced conversation to have here, but like, again, at the same time, you killed that man's boy. You killed his son, and he don't feel like he got nothing else to live for. So I'm gonna throw it back to y'all, but I'll say this. I've said this a few times. Like, I always expect that something's gonna happen racially, and I'm gonna just lose all my shit. And I used to say this when we had A Black Hands, Chris. I used to tell people, like, I'm prepared. I don't want to be, but I'm prepared to lose everything. But I'm not gonna lose it all without a reason. And I think that they gave this man a reason. Like, if my life is over. I don't know what's about to happen next, but I'm gonna avenge this boy. Damn, be the consequences. And I think that that's gonna there might be a shift that's about to happen. I'm not condoning. I'm not pushing. I'm not saying. I'm just observing what's happening in real time history, and this might be the precipice of something that will be written about 70 years from now.
Damn, it didn't get you, did it?
I was trying to use
You all
my
right?
as a camera. I'm here. Y'all
You
keep
didn't say
going.
you didn't say too. You didn't say too much, did you? The alphabet boys didn't get you, did it?
You know, they was like, "Hey, man," they was like, "We got him. We got him."
Okay, all right.
This camera.
All right, man. No, here's my thing, man. We live in a society right now where to way Chris said everybody's sick. I also think that people are sick and tired, man. We're dealing with people who are dealing with economic pressure. We're dealing with people who are dealing with psychological pressure. We're dealing with people who are dealing with, pressure from the state. There are a lot of things happening in this country right now where people, and I'm not just, even if you take it out of the racial context, we're coming out of 2 years of people basically being in solitary confinement and being isolated that we still haven't psychologically recovered from. The economy still hasn't recovered from that. People are getting back into the world and trying to socialize with each other, but you got all these financial pressures, these economic pressures, these psychological pressures, and people's backs are getting pushed further and further against the wall. And they're dealing with a government who basically tells them, I don't give a damn what happens to you. And I think that Luigi was a symptom of that. He was a symptom of that. I think that what happened with this brother Rodney is a symptom of that. And I feel like, unfortunately, in this country, we kind of live by that old proverb: if you don't listen, you're gonna feel it. And I think people are starting to feel it, and people are tired. And I think what's going to happen is, until there's some sort of major sea change, you're going to see more things like this. Not just this particular incident against the police. People are going to snap, and people are going to lose any sort of. People are going to feel like they got nothing to lose, so I'm going to take as much as I can with me. You know what I mean? Or they're just going to react. This is not nothing that happens in a vacuum. If you look at the history of governments, if you look at France, pre-revolutionary France, you look at Germany right after World War I, these things always happen when people feel like they are powerless and they don't have any sort of recourse, unfortunately. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, would be to start providing people some sort of recourse so they can push some of these things back, whether that's legislation or whether that's just being honest about the conditions in this country. You know what I mean? I don't know what it looks like. I know this is untenable the way it is.
I'll say this. I said it before in kind of a different way, but I'm saying, I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your racial background is. If you're a father and you lose your child, you lose your son, I can't stress enough, like, how much you fear that as a parent anyways, right? Especially if you got multiple kids like I do. But your life is different and changed the moment something like that happens. Like if someone knocked on your door and said, I've got very bad news for you, there's a before and after to them delivering the news that one of your children, that you're going to be burying one of your children. You're not supposed to bury your children. Your children are supposed to bury you. And the idea that you will live the rest of your life without one of them, one of your kids who you've raised since a baby, any man who's a father who loves their children, I think would be changed and made different by that. That's like, But then again, if you go and you take it out on the next person who had nothing to do with it, that person could be a father too. That person could be somebody's father, right? And then it sets off, it's the whole biblical thing about what begets, begets violence type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. Curse on all your houses.
Yeah, I also think, I think you're making some really keen points. I think we'd be remiss, look, man, a lot of times for decades, things like this have happened, and Black people have rioted or tried to get justice, didn't get it, tore up their own city. And I remember being a part of some of those and being like, well, instead of messing up where we live, why don't you go mess up where they live? And I think this concept is he wanted it back in blood. He didn't find a random father. He didn't find a random cop. He found that cop that he felt like, had license to murder his child. Listen, man, when white people do this, it's a $1 billion movie franchise led by Liam Neeson. You know what I'm saying? Who has a particular set of skills.
Yep.
And there has to be I don't know, man. I don't want to say there has to be some sort of recourse when we're talking about a situation like this, because again, somebody went and took some vigilante justice for themselves. And to be fair, he's about to pay the price for it. You know what I'm saying? And I think he is completely fine paying that price. Like, there's a gap in his heart now that will never be filled, man. So I just mourn for that man, because it didn't have to happen like that. It didn't have to, that kid didn't have to be dead. And then now another person is dead. And again, I don't know how much of an asshole this person was. I don't know what happened. I don't have all the details, right? I'm listening to some of this based off of you sharing the story. But there's, like you said, Chris, there's somebody in his family like that loved him. Like, this type of racism doesn't just destroy one person or one entity. It's all consuming hate, and it destroys everything. It destroys everything. So I don't want to get preachy.
No, you're right. And one thing I want to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother.
No, you're good. You're good.
You're absolutely right, because I think that was a point I wanted to make up too, and I'm glad you brought it up. Hollywood makes movies about this sort of stuff every single year, and people go and get their popcorn and watch every last one of them. And there's a whole history of this stuff going back from the cowboy movies. If we go back to the 50s and Shane, about the drifter, the loner that comes in and sets things right. You know what I mean? Even the last movie I think about this was the one with Jamie Foxx and Gerald Butler, with Law Abiding Citizen. But he came and murked everybody who had everything to do with that. You know what I mean? In devious ways. You know what I mean? So and even Death Wish with the Charles Bronson movies, well, I'm just gonna murk black kids on the subway who trying to rob me and stuff, who didn't have nothing to do with the visual thing. You know what I mean? They made a whole series of Death Wish movies about that. I'm just saying that there's a precedent and there's a sort of narrative that we sell in America about the lone drifter who comes in and takes on the bad guys and makes everything right. I'm not saying that, that is the same as reality, but there's a sort of narrative that's set in American mythology. And there's a very specific individual that looks like who's able to take that sort of advantage. He's the same color as my shirt. Nobody else can be able to do that. You know what I mean? Maybe Machete. That's about it. Especially not nobody black.
Man, it's crazy, man. I mean, Chris, I think you were going to some places with it just around, with the soberness that you have of being able to step back, also kind of seeing as a father, how you deal with this, but also being able to see like, but this ain't the way. I mean, what do you say to a man in that moment? You know what I'm saying? That might have had the type of rage that he had. Like, and again, you are the only father here. So I do think just giving you, I can see it's difficult for you to even process this thought. You know what I'm saying? It's a nasty place you even have to go through. So, with all due respect,
just your thought. You said it already, though. I mean, it is what it is. This has happened before. It's going to happen again. People snap. I don't know what else to say about it. Like you could look for deep meaning in it, but you could actually publish a story like this every day, right? If you're the type of person who watches the police blotters in every city, and if you have that family member that likes to listen to the police blotters for entertainment, that this type of stuff is going on all the time. You could pull a story out. You could traumatize yourself with the number of these types of stories that are coming up, every day. And it just is what it is. Sometimes people snap. Now that I keep forgetting the person's name, but like the white dude who choked the guy out on the subway or whatnot, I see why those stories become bigger, because that's a different type of story. But these type of, this is, this is our version of lynchings. Right? Like back in the day when they were counting the number of lynchings and they were documenting them, I think we stopped documenting. That's what I think happened. I think we just stopped documenting the number of things. And Torraine, you might be right. Like, a lot of people have lost more than a son. They've lost an uncle, a cousin, a brother, whatever, a sister, a family member, and it's accumulated over time, right? Let me just go all the way back, since I'm the oldest person here. I'm going to do my old man thing right now, right? This is going to be my old thing, right?
All right.
Here we going to do old man. In 1991, I would have been 23 years old. So in 1991, I was 23. When the Rodney King stuff came on TV, I couldn't wait to get home, rush home, so that I could keep up on the news. And back then, news was slow and you had less of it, and there was no social media. So I literally had to wait all day to go home and find out what was going to happen with these cops and what, and the videos were all over the place. I only bring that up to say there was this idea that was, because it was captured on video, that this is going to change everything. Now, because see, they were able to lie to us before, you know, blah, blah, blah. But now that it's on video and everybody can see it, this is going to change everything. Now, of course, you didn't have cell phones. Who was the dude? I think was the first cell phone one caught. His name was Walter something, I think, and he was running away from the cops.
Walter Scott. Yeah, that was in Charleston.
Scott.
Yeah.
That was another situation where we said, they got him on video. This is gonna change a lot of things now, whatever. We kept saying that. We said that with Rodney King, if you were born on the day that happened to Rodney King, you'd be 36 years old right now, right? And still we're talking about this. And we're not just talking about kids like this, okay, because this is somebody's son who got, but what I had brought up earlier, Tyree Nichols, who they got video of him being beaten to death. And the cops just got off today, right? They not guilty. How could you be not guilty when the video clearly shows you beating a man to death? And not beating him like because he's resisting, beating him like you're in a bar fight, right? And a man's crouching down and he's being beaten and dies. And we're still talking about those stories, and it's all on video. We got all the tape, we got all the video still happening.
Yeah, man. I know we got to transition, Torraine. I don't know if you got any final thought on this or put a button on it.
No, man.
That was powerful, Chris.
Yeah, all I can say is, unless conditions in this country change, unless people get real about some of the material conditions in the history of this sort of violence in America, this is not going to end here. That's all I got to say about it. I don't know where it's going to end, but it ain't going to be good. And the way this country refuses it's just determined to be stiff-necked and refuse to listen. I don't know, but it ain't going to be good.
Okay,
yeah, man.
So in every show we gotta have a moment, right, where I push back, right? Because that's what because it would be 3 the easy way if we didn't do that, right?
Yeah, true.
We don't want it to be 3 the easy way. Here's my pushback on it, my contrarian hot take moment. Nothing's gonna happen. I just said this shit's been going on for years. There's no revolution is coming. Ain't nobody gonna do no shit. They've had a million opportunities to do some shit before, to start some shit. We were saying in the 80s and in the 90s, the gang members are going to roll out of the hood one day and just take over a suburb or some shit, like what, y'all better stop putting them in those ghettos and blah, 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 whatever. Man, they're not going to do shit. They're going to smoke a bunch of weed. They're going to go to the club this weekend. They're going to trade hip hop videos with each other of women twerking, because you like to talk about twerking all the time, Tor. It's like your favorite thing. And they're going to die of entertainment. That's what's going to happen. Their brains are going to go off. They're going to die of entertainment. Listen, the days of when Black folks burned down all of Detroit and Watts and all those other cities, I don't know when we would ever see that again, because it didn't happen again after that.
Yeah, because they got rid of the leadership.
Take that back. Rodney King, they did, that did put people over the top. But that was 36 years ago. We stacking up bodies now. It should have happened.
I mean, Oscar Grant happened, but it wasn't. It definitely wasn't as bad as LA. But a lot of shit did burn when Oscar Grant happened in the Bay Area.
Yeah, same thing with Mike Brown. The same thing with George Floyd. You know what I mean? They told him sit his up. The thing of it is, to your point, Chris,
I got detained during that.
Yeah. There's always the potential of something happening. But what's happened with us now is, you got to remember, a lot of the people, once that stuff happened in the 60s and everything, they got rid of the leadership that was actually organizing a lot of that stuff. They got rid of the Panthers. They got rid of the street gang, because at the time, people forget, a lot of the street gangs were starting to get politicized, so they had to cut that off. A lot of the stuff you're talking about, the way gangs are now, is because they got rid of the leadership and incarcerated them and took them out. The situation with George Floyd and the situation with Mike Brown, we saw what happened with that. That's when the entertainment of death came in. They sent people in. They sent the electric slide brigade in there to make everybody get quiet and get silent. And then it turned from being like an angry protest against police brutality into a rainbow coalition, literally. And then people was out there pop locking and dancing again. You know what I mean? That's what happened with that. They ain't gotta take you out and give you 30 years. They could just throw somebody in there with a vest and have you out there pop locking some more. Come on, black folks. It's all dance.
So I'm gonna move us to the next topic because we are y'all looking for that smoke, man. I will say this, man. Now,
He said pop rockin', rainbow brigade.
yeah, man. It's interesting how those things play out, man. But something that's not completely disconnected, but definitely not as heavy. Maybe should have started here now we think about it. But Matt Walsh, racist people's favorite intellectual white guy.
Mhm.
He just did a recent segment basically whining about how unfair it is that black people can say the N-word, but if white people say it, they're instantly racist. This isn't new. You know, white people have been asking for access to a word born out of our subjugation for since they no longer could just freely say it the way they wanted to. But the question really isn't like, why can't they say it? To me, the question is, why do they still want to? And I have a favorite video that I would like to add of one Delroy Lindo to connect our last episode. I love him trolling. So let me show that video. But then when I come back, I'm just going to ask you guys, why do you think that white people will just feel like they have to have the right to say this term? But to those that have not had the joy of watching this, here you go. We got you.
Take hip hop. We've talked about this on the show before. You have African American rappers saying N-word this and N-word that, but a Caucasian can't.
So say it.
Say what?
Say the word you want to say.
I'm not saying that I want to say it. I'm just saying that I can't.
Sure you can. Say it. Say it right now. I will say it with you.
Okay, this is hypocritical. You know we can't.
Sure you can. This is America. Both of you. Say it.
All right, I think we can move on.
Why move on when you want to say?
Fellas, has everybody seen that video before?
I've seen it before.
Yeah, I love how they put the Sandman music on when it gets hot in there.
Absolutely, they was like, get him out of there now. But what are your thoughts though around just white people just constantly feeling they've been wronged because they can't say this term? I have a lot of different thoughts, but let me open it up to y'all before I go into a soliloquy. You was eating something, Chris? I'll go to you first, Torraine.
Really what it is, man, and we all know what it is. White supremacists are people who feel like they have the right to do anything. Look, we know the hardest thing in the world for a white person to do and to deal with is to be told that they can't do something. And then when you factor in that you got black people who are setting boundaries about what they want as far as respect and disrespect, that drives them nuts. So that's really what it is. A lot of these people, they long for the old plantation days where they could call you boy, or you can call you the N-word with no impunity and everything. And now that they feel like that's taken away from them, they want to bring it back. And it's just that's really what it all comes down to. It's about trying to feel like you're losing some sort of control. You want to be able to control and manipulate the emotions of black people. And also you want to feel like you just want to be able to do things with impunity. That's really what white supremacy is. You are a white man, you're a white woman. You have the right to do whatever you wanted to do. You have the right to say whatever you wanted to say to somebody black, and they're supposed to turn the other cheek and not say anything and try to educate you. Well, that's really all that is. And my thing is, you have here's my thing. You have the right to say whatever you can back. Whatever check your mouth writes that your ass can carry, to go ahead and do that. So if you want to do that, don't do it in the safety of your home studio that you built up. Go on outside and do that in front of some black people who you don't know, who aren't dancing for you, and see what kind of response you get. All I ask is give me the exclusive rights to come down there and film it, because I want my cameras up, because I want the exclusive rights to show the outcome. That's all I say about it. Don't do it.
Girl star.
And I got your video up and ready to go, Chris.
Pull it up just real quick, because this dovetails, and this was part of my issue today. So I don't know how much of this we got to play, but play a little bit of this right here.
I got you. I saw Mark talking about it. Hold on.
Go on, then say it. Say
You
the
will
M.
not have
Go on,
free
say.
speech.
Go on, say the M word. Go on.
No.
Hang on.
Invite. No.
No.
I don't want you to invite this woman to say a racially harmful term in front of me, because I'm the only on here. So if she says it, I'm the victim of it. So please don't invite her for ratings to call me the N-word, because that's basically what it's going to be. There's a bunch of white people up here. You and one Uncle Tom on the left here, and to ask her to say the N-word while I'm here is ridiculous. You would not sit here with a Jewish person and say, please use a Jewish slur in front of this Jewish. It's ridiculous. I understand you don't have any bad intent, Pierce. I understand what you're trying to do, but we already know she's racist, and I don't want to invite a racial harm to me.
I hear you, and I accept that, and we'll leave it there. Thank you.
Okay, so what I want to point out is the chick on the right, or to Mark Lamont's left, the chick on the left, right? See right there, the one with the white shirt and the black kind of thing, right? I think her name's Lily Geddes. So Lily Geddes used to be what was called a trad wife influencer on YouTube, and she used to do these like cooking type things, and this has become a new thing for white guys, the trad wife. So it's actually kind of their version of softcore, porn. Basically, is to watch women pretend to be a traditional wife and whatever, and they cook and they talk. And in one of her episodes, she's just talking as she's cooking, and she said, "Listen, we don't care about your men. The only, I have a few friends that do this and blah blah, and it's
broke ass niggas.
Yeah, it's only because they're dating broke ass niggas or whatnot, right?" And she just said it kind of, you could tell it was partially planned, but she tried to make it look like, I don't care, I just say this. And she was working for black people. She got fired. She was all of a sudden she went viral on that one video. And what she put out the next day was, thank you. She put out a tweet that said, "Thank you very much for launching my career in conservative media." And she was expecting to become famous right after that, right?
Does she have a black baby daddy or something like that? I feel like
a bunch of stuff happened. Because what happened was the white supremacists from 4chan looked her up and started finding out.
Like, you ain't about this life. You gripped it on us too.
They started saying that she was Jewish, for one. And that blew up. And then they said she had a mixed baby or whatnot. But anyway, she went on and on and on down this path. What you didn't see in this clip is what she says before all of this is that she's tired of white people being discriminated against. She's sick of white people not having any solidarity and standing together and saying the things that they want to say and fighting for real free speech. And Pierce said, "Well, do you say that word?" And she says, "Yes, I do.
All the time." Yeah.
And he said, "Wait, what? You're admitting you use it all the time?" She's like, "Yes, I do, when it's appropriate." And he said, "Well, when would it be appropriate?" And she said, "Whenever I decide." And he said, "Oh, so you're a despicable racist then?" And she said, "Sure." He's getting like incredulous because he's like, I'm trying to get you to a point where you realize this is wrong or whatnot. And she just kept smiling and smugly saying these talking points because you know who she's talking to. It's the Elon Roman salute. They know who they're talking to directly. And he is making her famous. You know why she's on this show right now? She's on this show to talk about the woman in Minnesota who was just filmed on a playground calling a 5-year-old a nigger. And she got caught on tape. And they put up a GoFundMe for her. And she's raised almost $1 million on her GoFundMe for calling a 5-year-old black child a nigger on the playground, right? That's why Lily is on here. This is becoming a trend. This, I'm going to be the bad girl on the white side of the fence. I'm going to say the things we're not supposed to say, whatever, and I'm going to make a name for myself. So get your mind around the fact a woman was on the playground. She called a kid a nigger. The dad followed her with the camera and said, "Are you really out here doing this, blah, 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 whatever?" And she said, "Yeah. And I'll say it again and again and again." And they put up a GoFundMe for her. That GoFundMe, you have to get your mind around. You got to get your mind around. People put up their hard-earned money to pay her for that. People literally clicked buttons and said, "I want to donate to this." This is where we're at. And Mark, listen, I just want to say, Mark, dude, I think you do incredible things, but this was not a shining moment. You gave her exactly what she wanted, an emotional black man. An emotional black man on TV. And look how smug she is. Look how happy she is. She knows she won. She knows she got what she wanted. She came there to do the white supremacist talking points so that she could get brownie points on 4chan. So she did her part. She got it. She's on TV. She's on the Piers Morgan show for saying nigger. That's her whole claim to fame. That was her whole claim to fame.
But we help with that because we're really easy to like rage bait, right? Like people like I think corporations started doing it where they let something accidentally leak or whatever, and it just gets you all the traffic, and then you kind of have it's become a strategy. I mean, listen, man, I think the obsession is entitlement. I think they just feel entitled to it. I think it's just something that they feel entitled to have. And I talk about freedom of speech. So I'm a freedom of speech person. So you know what? I don't think you should go to jail for saying it. Say it all you want. You should. Hey man, the government don't need to intervene with you saying it. Now, if somebody just happens to knock the shit out of you while you said it, then I also don't think that you should be running to the cops afterwards. This is what
those are called freedom of consequences.
it's exactly. So listen,
You know?
even freedom of speech. I'm like, look, if I have a take, I don't think I should be going to jail for it if I'm not going to hurt anybody, whatever the case is. But if you have white people, this is Charles talking to you now. If you have such an inclination and you just need to get that word off and say it, I'm pushing you in the way that Torraine did. Let me tell you where you go. Go do it with some of these people that you see as niggas. Like, don't do it with these other people. Don't do it with people that you go to school with and y'all play Pokemon together. No. Go to what you think is the hood, to those people that you would call N-words. I don't say N-word. I say nigga, but that you would say N-word about and say it, go right in the middle of them, get a mouth full of spit when you say it, and just let it rip. And let's just see how it goes.
Okay, well, let me add a wrinkle to both
curious
of y'all.
How it goes.
This is doing for both of y'all young folks. Let me add a ripple to this then. Because listen, I'm not for letting her or anybody else say it. I'm with everybody else in canceling and stomping people out. Because what's going to happen is this is going to become popular with white people, young white girls, and you're going to have these schools.
It already is.
And you're going to have these schools where there are young black people. There's only 5 of them in the school, and they're going to endure this shit every day. So, but I've been wondering for a long time why we let brown people get away with it.
I mean, we can come back to that too.
Like when Fat Joe said, "I'm gonna say it. I don't care. I don't care." He said it on Breakfast Club, right? Was it Fat Joe or was it Big Pun?
It's Fat Joe.
Fat Joe.
That's Joe. Pun was dead already.
He said, "What you gonna do about it?" I grew up like this. I grew up saying this. I don't care. I don't give a shit. You know, blah blah blah, whatever. And they let him. And they not just let him. They let an entire nation of brown people do that.
You know what?
That's a very New York thing. I'll say that much too.
I was going to say that, but yeah. You know what though? Well, I think we're taking the conversation out of just the general public. We're starting to get into entertainment, and I say this all the time. Everybody who is not black, who is appropriating black culture, whether it's an Aquafina, whether it's a Joe, whether it's anybody, these people are always let in the door by black gatekeepers who allow these people to come in because they know they're going to capitalize on the fact that somebody non-black is using black vernacular and using black energy. That's what happens. So that's the reason that happens. These people have gatekeepers. You know, Justin Timberlake is here because of Timberlake. Not to say anything about that, but that's how it happens. You know, Miley Cyrus is here because of Jay and all these other people and stuff like that who should know better. But they know it's a payout. They know they're going to get paid from that. And they know that's how it happens. And so that every time, because you notice every time one of these people does that, they trot out whoever they're connected to who's black in the industry, and they make all these bullshit excuses for them. That's what that's about. The general public don't be rocking with that, but the people who are influencers in the music industry and entertainment let them do that. I think the only person who's now
black people let just anybody get away with it though, because I feel like you have to be very good at it for black people to give you the pass. Not everybody gets the pass. Some people try.
I don't know about that.
Well, let me just say it this way then. There's a lot of white people that became famous when their first show was on the Apollo. And you know, Apollo was savage. Was savage. They would boo you in the first 30 seconds. So if you were a white dude and you made it to the end of your song, you had passed the test, kind of, right? And they had a handful of them that came out there, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's this gonna be?"
Yeah, Lisa Stansfield had everybody turned up. I remember that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of somebody else that kind of blew up. Blown up, but
hey, if you not to cut you up, but you ever want to see something interesting? Lisa Stansfield, you know, when she came up with "Been Around the World," when she first goes on the stage, you can tell she's terrified. and then that beat drops, and she starts getting everybody. She starts feeling herself, starts doing the running man and all kind of stuff. It was funny, but anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, but that phenomenon, that's the Larry Bird effect, though, right? Like we like seeing people that's not from a group dominate that group. So same thing with Tiger Woods in golf, right? It's like, or Venus and Serena. It's like we're not here. So it's like, yo, like this is like Larry Bird is Larry Bird, like Joker. You're saying it now. I think, and like when you get a Tina Marie who sings like a Tina Marie and also has a real like appreciation, right? Tina Marie has always respected this culture, and you know what I'm saying, has always gave that love, right? Or or even somebody like Dolly Parton, who doesn't do that thing, but has always shown this love. So, or like Whitney Houston, you can have my biggest hit that's very personal. Or Beyonce, you want to be here? I'll give you my privilege to like to support you. So I think that's a little different. I think that this fascination thing, though, is this. It's these people that's not in that solidarity, don't really like Black people, don't really want to be around them, think very lowly of them and of us, and are like obsessed with their right to say this term. Like that's a whole this phenomenon is just different. Like you're foaming at the mouth, and if you're foaming at the mouth like that, I think that's even different than Fat Joe, who is immersed in a culture, in a gang culture, in a street culture, where he has been saying it, like you said, it's very New York, it's very much a thing, and then his back was against the wall and motherfuckers. But again, there's also Black people that like have ran into him in the streets, right? Like, but for whatever reason, Fat Joe is one of them in the streets. All right, he has a record.
No, it's not just him, Charles. Like he has a whole culture of brown people saying that same shit. What
I'm saying is in a culture where Black and brown is very much differently intertwined and mixed, where there's the Spanish Black, Dominican Black, like all these other things. And again, I'm not making an excuse for him. I'm just saying, I'm just acknowledging the difficult, like the more nuanced politics of that place. It still feels, I'm not saying it's right for Fat Joe, but it definitely feels different than that white girl saying it as like a show of a thing, not entrenched in a culture, which is very, very different. Because again, I knew some Asian cats when I lived in Oakland that said it, but guess what? Them motherfuckers was crazy. Like they were crazy. Like they were the crazy two Asian kids that hung out with number Black kids. But just larger thing. That's my alarm going off. I don't want to take up too much time. And I know, Torraine, you got to run. So whenever Chris can carry it on. But I was just going to finish my point on that. And I was just going to say, like this obsession. Like I'm even less than the actual word and the people. It is a whole race of people throwing a public tantrum that they cannot do. It's one thing that they can't do, and it's driving them fucking crazy, and it makes me laugh. I have a rule, and I'll end on this. I won't argue with white people about the use of like nigga or the N-word or whatever. Like I will always respect my elders. There are Black elders, there's the Oprahs, there's people that's like, I don't use that word, I don't like that word, I don't want it around me. Here's why. My respect level will I will entertain that. I'm not entertaining white conversation around the use of this fucking word. I'm just, Charles isn't, but that was my time. We can transition. I want y'all to get y'all thoughts because, Chris, I want you to have your full time. That was just my take. I just wanted to laugh about it because they are really perturbed that they can't do it. And that makes me want to say it more around you, and you can't do it. I'm about to be Paul Mooney in this motherfucker.
But they can.
Here's the thing. You can do it at your own risk, and you might find a group of people where nothing will happen. But I promise you, you will be in the wrong group at some point, and you're going to get this shit slapped out of you.
What's going to happen is you're going to be on Piers Morgan, and you have no other talent. You have no other talent in the world. You had no other identifiable talent, and you're going to end up in a journalist spot on Piers Morgan.
Chris, I was at People's Park. At People's Park, where I played ball at in Berkeley, it was this dude. I don't know if he was drunk. It's People's Park, so he was probably high off of something. Came in yelling. He said, "Nigga, we stopped the basketball game. Hey man, what was that? All y'all are some monkey niggas." And when I tell you he left with all his shit hanging out of him, I promise you, bro, like I've seen it happen the other way. He probably don't walk well to this day. But I didn't do nothing. I'm just saying, I'm not incriminating myself.
My thing is this. I just want to say that we have to make the distinction between people because you mentioned Chris earlier about people who mostly were in entertainment. There is a difference between people who are not black, who grew up around the culture like a Tina Marie or somebody like that,
Right.
who is immersed in that culture. And even she didn't even rock with that sort of stuff. She never let that come out of her mouth. And black people will fight you behind Tina Marie today. I'll fight you behind Tina Marie. She's a sister, as far as I'm concerned. But that's a 1 in a million sort of person. And there's people who grew up in the culture, who know the culture, and they still don't do that. My thing is, we're talking about people who have no connection, like Charles said, who just feel like I said earlier, they feel like they're in a straitjacket because they can't say things to black people like they used to say, and it's driving them insane. And they're literally bursting at the seams to say this stuff. Those are different from people who are just in the culture for whatever reason. Even if you're appropriating the culture, there's sort of a respect level in the way you approach it than somebody who's like a Matt Walsh or somebody who ain't been around black people since he was in high school, something like that, who feels like they want to say something. I'm going to go back to it, then we can move on. These people feel constrained by the fact that they can't do things extrajudicially that they used to be able to do to black people and say things they used to, because they'll be in the dentist's office the next day. That's really all this is. So I think as long as you make them fearful of saying that word, things will be all right. They're getting a little bit too comfortable, and somebody needs to, I'm not going to say what the people need to do, but people need to correct that. Let's just say correct it.
I agree with that.
I think when you make something taboo, you create a market for it, an underground market. So this is like she's doing the Larry Flynt thing. Larry Flynt came along and said, they are mocking you. Playboy is mocking you. They are not showing you legs open. He said, they are mocking you. He's like, they are mocking you. Why is that taboo? Why is that taboo? Why can't we film that? Blah, 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 blah. That was what made Larry Flynt. He found a taboo.
Are you talking about Larry Flynt, First Amendment
was a hustler, penthouse, whatever it was.
You know what I'm saying? Part of the reason rappers get to say whatever they want to now, because of him and Luke together.
He was the original free speech person that pushed back on taboos. Oh, this is supposed to be taboo? Well, I'm going to print it then. He printed a lot of things that were supposed to be taboos, and there was a market for it. When you make something taboo, you make a market for that thing, right? So this chick on here, she found her market now. Now it's like, you would have really been canceled 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even. Right now, it's a job opportunity, right? If you're willing to jump out there and make yourself like known for this and go viral for it or whatnot, you're going to be making money off of that. This is her, this now, she didn't have a job. Before her first viral video on this,
she had a regular job. She had a regular job with some black people. With some black people she was tired of.
Yeah, she's not like a journalist. She didn't come into this like with any type of skill, right? But she said it, and she went viral, and she got following, and that following turned into money. And now here she is being brought on as an expert from a woman in Minnesota who did the same thing, who now also has raised $1 million. I think GoFundMe shut it down, but became famous for saying the word, and they got a bunch of money.
I like. Oh, go ahead, Torraine, because I was gonna say I like some of this. I'm curious.
I just wanted to speak to this from somebody who's actually got skin in the game as a journalist. It's kind of fascinating watching. Some part of me is like, it's fascinating watching how things have flipped over the last couple of years or so. But I think this year's been really ramped up. You used to not be able to get on CNN or get on some of these shows unless you had a skill set or something, or some sort of field of expertise you were talking in. Now you got Piers Morgan talking with what's his face from Fresh and Fit. You got Mark Lamont Hill, and you got two random white chicks who was working, and one was working in Starbucks, the other was working at a flower shop somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But these people are able to get on just because they're doing that stuff. It just speaks to the influence of influencers that is starting to bleed over from influencer culture into like actual hard news. And it's kind of fascinating. It's like, but damn, what I got to do? I got to go out here and go slapping white people like but I got to make a video be slapping white people like Bernie Mac at head of state to get on what I got to do.
Well, Pierce is off network TV though. He's not. He's Roland Martinet. He's Jon Stewart in it. Outside of like, he's independent media now. He's doing his own thing. He just put his money up, and it's still got a good look. But he's not backed by CNN or BBC. Like he left. I think he left both of those, right? Like, or they left him. Whichever way that goes. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, like, I get what you're saying. I just didn't want to speak it mainstream.
He's doing the Jerry Springer model. That's his model now. This is the updated version of it. So, updated version of the Jerry Springer model.
And I ain't mean to cut either one of y'all off. So I want you to finish your thought, Torraine. But he is a chaos agent. Like, they feel like this on the. Oh, you think he's right wing? They feel like this on the right. I'm gonna bring on the right wing person. I'm gonna piss him off. Oh, they think I'm left wing. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna bring them on. Like he is an agent of chaos. Like that is, like you
No, I
said, the
get
Jerry
that.
Springer
Right
model.
wing though. He is right wing.
No,
though.
he is right wing, but he is more. He is ratings wing. He is
He's
money
more like
wing. He is
he's more like a William F. Buckley, sort of like a diet version of William F.
like
Buckley from back in the
I
80s
would,
and 90s and stuff.
and I would say he likes to be a provocateur. Like he can be on a panel with everybody agreeing with him, and everybody's agreeing with him, and he's gonna be like, this is not good TV. Like I'm gonna take a completely opposite turn around this thing. The only time that he really cared, where it was something that he really, really cared about, was Meghan Markle because she curved him. That's the only thing he ever cared about was when he started covering her because she didn't want to date him. That's what that was.
I'm just saying it's just wild.
Forever.
I'm just saying it's just wild how things are shifting. But you're right though. He is doing his own thing now. But even with people who are doing their own thing, because there are journalists who are still doing independent stuff and they're still keeping that level of journalism. It's kind of wild seeing how like what to be honest with you, and Chris said it earlier, who really surprised me was watching Mark Lamont Hill flip out like that. I never seen him do a snap like that over something like that, and I didn't expect that. And it's kind of wild seeing it because this is what happens when you get somebody. And I know this is going to sound a little bit classist, even though I hate classism. Ironically, it's kind of wild. You got a
When you
panel
get an
where
educated cat around people that's stupid, is that what I mean? That's
no, not even that. It's like you got Mark Lamont Hill, and then you got the dude from Fresh and Fit who's known for yelling at people, and then you just go. It's like, let's say let me put it like this: I'm gonna make a TV show. My first guests are gonna be Cornel West. Then I'm gonna get Hillary Clinton. Then I'm gonna stand outside and grab whatever random bum I see off the street and put him on in the chair next, and we gonna all talk. That's what we got right now. It's just wild seeing that. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what? I will say this though. On that,
I'm gonna get you drunk. I'm gonna get you lick it up first, and I'm gonna have you come sitting in between, and we gonna let it roll.
Yeah.
But that's what people want.
You know why? Because newspapers have died. That's why. Like, I mean, we can have a larger media conversation, but go ahead, Chris. Y'all two are more media than I am, so I should yield this ground to y'all.
Well, I mean, Mark Lamont Hill is Dr. Mark
Absolutely.
Lamont Hill. And I'm only bringing that up because if you're going to be on the pro-black side, you have to have bigger credentials. You can't just become famous for just anything. But if you want to be anti-black, like Myron Gaines, has made all his money by being the dark-skinned person that says bad things about black people. That's how he has made his money. That's how Candace Owens has made their money. If they tried to do that exact same thing on the other side of the fence, they go broke. Right? You have to get on a show like this and be on this panel. You're not pulling up some bum off the street to do the pro-black part of this, right? But everybody else on this panel have no credentials, none whatsoever, except for they're anti-black. They spread anti-black messaging.
Here's the thing. True, I agree. But here's ironically, which one of them wilded out the worst?
Well, I mean, listen, he's in the middle of a whole bunch of fools. That listen, who wrote the book?
I think he did. I think the other white lady was on. The other white lady was actually on his side. She was basically saying y'all are crazy. By the way, I listened to Mark's thing after he just put something up for night school, so I listened to his explanation before we did the episode. But he was saying all of them wasn't like that. The other white lady, and she sent him a nice note about just a support because she saw that he was visually annoyed. But yeah.
You know what? Watching this, this is another old guy moment, but there was a time when BET had all these shows, Bev Smith, and they had a new
Mark
show.
Lamont Hill.
They had Mark. They had
Jackie Reed. I used to crush.
I actually ended up on Bev Smith's show once, and it was like a great honor. It was it was an honor. It was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I'm on, because I spent years watching it. But selling that to Viacom, I don't think was a business deal. It was a cultural loss because there was so much culture setting on BET. From the entertainment side all the way to the news side. And this is what we're left with now. We're left with Mark Lamont Hill yelling on some white dude's independent network that's making millions. But we don't have one. The closest thing we have is the grill,
Do we still have that? I don't think we have that at all.
It doesn't. It doesn't hit like it used to.
I think Brian, he still owns it, right?
Yeah. Byron Allen. Yeah.
Byron Allen.
But you know what? We don't really.
I was done when they write articles saying that black men are the white people of black
people.
That
was the root.
That was the root.
Oh, that was the root. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Got you. Not Grio. Got you.
They got.
We'll talk about it. we'll talk about it on another show. But me and Dude got into it one time, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, for real. Black real estate, black media real estate is really, really in dire straits right now. And it's kind of ironic you mentioned BET. And I don't want to harp on this too long because I know we got to move on. But I always say all the time, it's like when BET had cheaper sets, they had better quality content. Team Summit,
Absolutely.
they used to do Team Summit on some
Team Summit was
like,
so great. It's such a great show.
they did, but think about it. That Team Summit used to do that show with somebody's kid, made the Team Summit poster. You could tell in the back there, they got some bleacher chairs and some folding chairs. And they used to have rappers come through there, like big name rappers come through and chop it up about real stuff. They don't do that.
DMX came and gave the realest sex talk I've ever heard in history, and that should have been like, "Oh, you smoke crack, don't you?" But like, it just was very, very like unfiltered, very much like they're like, "Bro, you're talking to 16-year-olds." It was basically like they doing this. So what are we doing? But
I remember the one with
BT.
I remember the one when Eazy-E was on there and Jada Pinkett was trying to come at him about his lyrics and stuff. And when Eazy-E was on there sitting behind us, stuff, that was funny. But anyway.
Yeah, man. Anyway, you just made us remember some shit, Chris. Go ahead and do your thing, man.
You should remember it because it was the golden age of black media. And you had Emerge, the 90s Emerge. I don't know if y'all read Emerge, but like there's stories that I read in it I still remember today. I could almost remember all of the story. Kimba Woods. Story from the 90s. Anyways, well, listen, my topic was, so partially I did want to bring up this get famous by saying the anti-black stuff thing because you mentioned somebody else who's part of it, which is Matt Walsh and others. They are all eating off of this trough. They have created an entire media ecosystem of failed actors who now have jobs like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and others. They've created their own echo chamber, and now they've taken 4chan off of the web and made it an actual legitimate media entity, right? At the same time, we sold off all our shit, right? So platforming, we talk about platforming people or whatnot. But one of you has been in media and one of you has been in influence. So I would ask you all.
Well, I had a radio show on Talk Radio, brother, for 3 years. You know, me and you both did radio.
I don't know if this is really a point, but it is a question of going back that direction. We talked before in another show about Roland Martin. We talked about Boyce and others who have an entrepreneurial media platform of sorts. But what do you think it would take to get us owning a network of things where we set the agenda for what our news is? We set the agenda for what our language is. We set the agenda for what our stories are going to be. In the same way that the Matt Walsh's, Ben Shapiro's, Candace Owens, what's his name, Steven Crowder, all of them do on their side of the fence. Is it going to take a bunch of money? What would it take for us to reclaim? There's got to be an opportunity because there's a vacuum now. Like there's a big ass vacuum.
It's going to take money, first of all. First and foremost, you're going to need funding, and you're going to have to operate at a loss long enough to be able to start recouping that money. But really what it's going to take as much as money, it's going to take vision and somebody who can see the long game instead of like the short term. A lot of times what we do when it comes to black media, pretty much 98% of our content is entertainment or it's drama and stuff like that. I mean, and I hate to say this, but I think it's become a loop where like the audience would listen to stuff that would educate and edify them if they had it in front of them. But they're so used to seeing the wild out shit that audience is pretty much drying up. They won't know it until you put it in front of them. But nobody will fund putting it in front of them. You know, we can go back to Sinners. Nobody would have probably funded something like this maybe 10 or 12 years ago because everything was all either action movies or it was all just crazy wild out stuff. The stuff that was making drama, making money was the Tyler Perry stuff, and much respect to Tyler Perry. But there's a whole audience out there that wants to see things outside of that. But unless you put money up and show people that this is possible, nobody wants to fund it. And when it comes to like black content, everybody wants to put money behind Pop the Balloon. If you write up a treatment that says I'm gonna do something like Pop the Balloon, look, bro, you'll have $10 million by Wednesday. You'll have your funding by Friday. If you want to put up something that's going to combat like the Steven Crowders or the Ben Shapiro's, you're going to have to call for every dollar you get. That's the first part of it. The second part of it, the third part is, and this is something that's going to be uncomfortable, but people got to get out of their damn egos. Everybody wants to be a king of their own. Everybody wants to be a king in their own little rowboat when you can all come together and build a ship. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to get off their rowboat. And that's the thing. That's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Nobody wants to really kind of like kick in and build something that's collected that everybody can eat off of. We don't do that. That's my 2 cents on it.
I'm kind of glad you went there Because that's actually what I wanted to hear. Because I mean, the money part, I could possibly agree with that, but I feel like you could bootstrap. We have so many tools now. The tools are crazy.
Yeah.
The tools are so crazy right now that if you would have told me as a kid that I'd be able to do half the shit I could do right now, I would have told you that you were nuts out your mind. One person can start an entire firm now on things just with the tools that have come out in the last 3 months, right? So in terms of having radio shows and radio stations and programming or whatever,
right, easier now than ever.
I mean, you said the word, Torraine, like vision. It just the tools are there, right? To bootstrap it, right? I mean, this is how record companies started. You know, hip hop record labels, you know, back in the day used to bootstrap it until they got, well, you know, assumed or consumed or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but acquired. But your point about the ego thing, I think, is the real rub, because everybody has to own their own plot of land, and they're not looking at collectivism, right?
Yeah, which I understand, because look, man, we know the state of like resources in the Black community. Although even having said that, we still are able to find money for the things we want to find money for, but that's another conversation. But I understand it, because look, man, I run my own thing. I do my own stuff. You know, I have my branding company and stuff like that. And I understand that everybody has to take care of themselves first. But I think at some point, we have to stop thinking so much about the individual, not completely erasing that, because you got to put a roof over your head like everybody else does. But if you see an opportunity for people to have different personalities and be able to do stuff like we're doing here, you know what I mean? There's an opportunity there. And there's people who have the resource to do that, but they're so caught up in their own thing, and they're so caught up in their own ego, and they won't get out of their, well, I won't say when they won't get out of their own way. Let me say it like this. There's a lot of people who love the sound of their own voice, and they don't want to hear anybody else talk. If people can let go of some of that, and understand if the more voices you have saying along similar lines, but coming in a different way, you make your individual brand stronger when you have more people than you behind it.
But Torraine, I agree, Torraine. I would push though. I would push because you got one of my favorite shirts, and I didn't bring it to travel with. I'm gonna do one of the shows with it on, but that says "Speak, Black Man, Speak." Like, part of the reason we're doing this is because I don't see my point of view represented or nuanced in the way that I feel like it needs to be, and I'm tired of letting other people speak on what might be considered on our behalf at times, right? I think that's part of it. I think everybody wants to see themselves represented. And two, I don't know if we trust the person that says they got the vision, right? Because it's like, who got this vision? Where do I end up in that? Like, there are some conversations that kind of need to be had. But three, I think it's like, and it can't be something that we just halfway do. You got to professionalize it. You got to like make sure that the quality grows at the rate that it should grow. But my answer was this, and I'll get out Charles' way because I think you're having a good conversation, but I'll add this. It's as the next layer. I call it water and Kool-Aid. When I was a kid and just drinking water, maybe I didn't love it and whatever, but it was healthy. Grandmama made you drink it, fine. And then you taste some juice, and some juice is like, okay, this is different. You can't have too much, but enjoy this. But then when you taste ghetto ass Kool-Aid for the first time, like something happens. Something happens to my taste buds. It happens to my body, and it happens to put me on the road and path to diabetes. But now I have to retrain myself to drink water. This is $100. Because it tells me how much water I'm supposed to drink, and it filters the water, right, as I drink it, right? But what I'm saying is, as we start this, we have to start reintroducing water and nutrition back into the diet and habits of the people that we care about, because they've been getting sugary ass, tons of calories, no healthy benefits as Kool-Aid in the form of entertainment for a while. So when you actually do come with something meaningful, Chris, and you're trying to explain to people why Trump might be bad and really trying to get them to understand, but you don't have all this extra shit, they can't, they're not able to stay there unless they already super cared about it before. Or Torraine, who actually does old school journalism, wants to do long form writing and back to the days of Baldwin and the Atlantic type stuff, but it doesn't move fast enough with an ass shaking, as you would say, Torraine. There's no twerking in it. You know what I'm saying? So there's things that we have. I'm just saying, right? And again, I want to get out Charles' way, but I think it's an important point to make, is that part of this is going to be remapping people's like taste buds, and like you got to be able to consume the water, you got to be able to consume the vitamins, and this can't be Kool-Aid. They just been getting Kool-Aid from people that look like us, and it's hard to then switch them back hard, you know.
Yeah, I feel like our creative class is gone. I feel like our creative people are gone and they've been bought out. And I feel like, you know, when I see Vlad doing what Vlad does, when I see Rick Rubin getting these big platforms, like he's the masterclass of everything, out of everybody in hip hop who could have.
Can I ask you to never put Rick Rubin and that guy in the same, Vlad in the same? I'm just saying they're just such different animals. I feel you though, but what? One helped create Def Jam, bro. One helped create Def Jam.
Helped create Def Jam and has and all the names that you don't know that don't have this platform that he has and hasn't read the book that everybody is reading right now from him that shows that he's so creative, where he tells you in the book he didn't really even do shit. He doesn't play an instrument. He doesn't know a single chord or none of this shit, right? But all the people that did know those things, those are the creative people. That's the creative class. And that's where all the Black art came from. That's where all the Black messaging came from. That's where Black words came from. That's where Black aesthetic came from. And all that was once owned by Black people. So they own the creative process. And if you were on the outside, you had to wait for it to come out to get it, until you bought your way in. And now you have hip hop channels on Instagram that aren't even owned by Black people and nobody knows it, right? We got one of them that's very popular. What's the one that's owned by like a first gen?
You talking about not rap?
Daily Loud.
Yeah, Daily Loud is owned by white people.
Those are two white guys.
Yeah.
And what about Shade Room? What was the thing with them? There was something with them where
those are some Nigerians or something like that.
I think the African dude. Yeah, he's not from America.
Yeah, like
it was a Nigerian woman started it, but she did a partnership with another guy from Africa, something like that. So it's not even,
So other people have infiltrated the pipeline of our creativity and have set up shop in different parts of it. And what you do now is you try and make something so you can sell it to Viacom, like we did with BET. So you are no longer the producers of the culture. You are now sharecropping on somebody else's kind of like plantation as kind of creative workers. So the whole thing about creating jazz, creating soul, creating R&B, creating funk, creating George Clinton, creating hip hop, creating like gangster rap, creating all those things. Those things, you couldn't get those things unless you went to the Chitlin circuit and had to spend some time there and form some relationships the way that people have to do when they want to buy hair from China. If you wanted the good R&B or the good hip hop or the undiscovered talents or whatnot, you had to go to China in the same way. You had to go to Black World Chitlin Circuit in the same way that you have to go to China now to buy the hair, right? And at some point, they just worked their way all the way up into the leader table, and then now they get to decide which creatives get to sit at the table. They're like record labels that have entire rooms of producers doing nothing but doing chop shop type of beats, not for themselves though. Not for themselves.
Yeah.
For the product.
But here's the thing. But you know what? This whole conversation goes all the way back to Motown. Because if you remember the story around Motown, I read Barry Gordy's book To Be Loved when I was in my first year of college, and he talks about this. People were fighting him. He took him 10 years to sell. When he finally made the decision to sell Motown, he thought about that deal was in the works with different companies for like 10 years. And he says in the book that he was trying to create like a private equity firm, a private equity fund to buy it out, and he couldn't do it because he wanted to keep it. He understood the legacy of Motown in the Black community in Black America, but he couldn't find Black people to come together, put money enough to do it. I think what happens is Black people have this idealistic, even after everything we've been through, we have this idealistic idea about our cultural legacy, what we should own, but a lot of it doesn't match up with the practical realities of what it takes to really own our shit. We have these ideas that things are supposed to just be given to us without realizing you're dealing with business people and you're dealing with something that is intellectual property that has value. But a lot of times we don't see the value in that. And again, like I said, we find money for the shit we want to find money for. For some reason, we don't think that our own cultural content is valuable enough for us to invest in and build a legacy in. And that's an issue with us. We could talk about how that came to be and how a lot of our stuff has been devalued by other people. But we live in 2025, but we don't understand the value of intellectual property and our cultural content. Now we yell about it all the time on TV, on the internet. how come we don't invest in the stuff that we say we believe in? That's a us issue.
Because to be honest with you, a lot of it is bullshit. Because look at how many people went out and invested in centers, right? Because it was considered to be a quality product from a creative mind, like it was a real creative product. It wasn't some bullshit. So what we also have is a lot of people that like to start up a business and call themselves a business and then put Black owned in front of the business, especially to buy from them. It's not necessarily the business that it should be, right? But then you have the Ryan Coogers of the world who put out something where, yeah, we do invest in that. We do show up. Now, I showed up a week late. Y'all did it on the first weekend, right? Like, I was a little late to the game. I didn't do it on the first weekend. Like,
I showed up 3 times, but that's another thing.
I saw it twice. I saw it twice. I'm not going to see it again.
Between the 3 of us, what's that? That's 6 times?
6 times.
Yeah.
6 investments.
Yeah. But here's the thing. But I think I'm glad you brought up Ryan because there's a lesson in there for the creative. Ryan's first movie didn't do none of that at all. Fruitvale Station wasn't selling like that at all because it wasn't about the bottom line. It was about telling this story and telling this story only the way an Oakland boy could tell the story of Oscar Grant. And then people saw that talent, and then he showed up again, and he kept showing up, and then he got his big opportunity with Black Panther, and he didn't fumble it. He killed that. He smoked that shit. So again, the coming, showing, and proving, not doing the work, not taking his art for granted, or just being focused on the sales. If he would have been focused on the sales for Fruitvale Station, he'd be a bum and a failure, and we probably wouldn't be hearing from him again, or he'd be doing cookie cutter movies. But because he saw a vision, he gets better with every movie. When you hear him break down and talk about his craft, you can tell that he is somebody that spends ample time doing it. And I'm saying, if we start a news show, it's like, okay, we should look different a year from now than from when we started, right? Like if Black people, when you are good in an art, you can't just stay there and expect people to stay there with you. If you love these people the way you want them to love you, then you would continue to grow for them. You would continue to become excellent in your position. But I think bringing up Ryan was a really, really good and happy accident, Chris, because that man showed, like, over time, and he's still trying to get better, right? Like, this is the fastest movie he's ever done. He talked about that. He also talked about losing his uncle while he was filming Creed and not being able to talk to him, and what this grind sacrificed for him, and feeling so guilty and talking to this dead man through jazz, to the point where he was just like, I gotta write something original. I gotta honor this man, right? There's a lot of pain in that. And when you talk about a true artist, like Chris, you made true sacrifices because you love music, to where you left your house, left where you were living, and moved across the country. I'm just saying, when you say those things, we also got to let these young people know, or old people, like, are you really in for this? Because you can give your all and it can still fail. Now, knowing that, do you still believe in your people enough to get better in your craft? I think that's a good meditation.
I'm glad you said that, though, because I think that the young people are getting, I think their creativity is showing. Mm-hmm. I think they are inventing some shit that they own by themselves.
Absolutely.
But they're doing it in a cross-cultural, post-racial, some kind of, I don't even know what to call it. They're going some direction that we haven't gone. That but they are showing their creativity.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Chris, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. Because when you said the creators are dying out, I think the establishment creators and the way we see creators is dying out. But there's kids, look here, brother, there's kids who are 8 and 9 years old on TikTok making videos. It could be movies if they had the funding to doing this stuff. There's people who have like series on Facebook and stuff like that are better than some of the stuff that the CBS is making out. You know what I mean? There's talent out there, but then, like you said, you know, these things and some of these jokes and some of these things that used to be connected in the Black community, you had to know people or they had to be in your city to know about it. This stuff is going out through technology to the whole world. And the people who are seeing this stuff, just like we're seeing it, the people who are able to capitalize on it and steal it and copy it are seeing it too. And they have access and they have infrastructure to be able to do that. And that's, I think, the danger. You know what I mean? That's what the dilemma is. How do you make people pay for things that they will get for free and then take and copy and co-op? I don't know.
Yeah, Chris, I'm hijacking your topic, Chris. My bad. I just wanted to show this panel some love because I think all three of us are very creative people, and I want to make sure, like Torraine, I think what you do with spaces and your writing, like, even whether money shows up or not, like, you still do it consistently and you can't tend to get better. Chris, you've had radio shows, you've done blogs. There's a book that my friend Chris is just fucking sitting on. He not gonna write it,
You know
y'all.
what? You
It's
know
called
what?
Black Kids of the New Cotton.
No, it's
I want to
open.
produce
It's
it.
open on my computer right now as you speak. I just want
I
you to
don't
know
care.
that, 'cause you say
Can
this
I
every
produce
time.
it? Can you send me the manuscript? I will
No.
get it published. I will edit it. I will get it. I will self-publish that thing for you on Amazon, brother. Like, and I think for me, I might not be creative as you are in the same sense, but I think the type of research that I elect to do, or the way that I built my secondary business and like have molded something that allows me to do work that's focusing on us as Black people, put money in other Black people's pockets, and also like build around. Like, I think that's creative in a different way. I think we got these things. I don't think it's an age thing at this point. I do think though, these are things that we're doing with no money attached. These are things that we've done for free over and over again. And I think that's what we got to kind of got to look at, man. And we got about 15 minutes left before we lose Torraine. Chris, I didn't mean to hijack your piece, but I think as Black men, we have been conditioned to not talk about ourselves, to not talk about the work that we have, to not promote it in a certain type of way. And I just wanted to call out, I think both you brothers are extremely creative, and that's why we're doing this. But I get the point is not lost on me, Chris. I just wanted to say that.
I mean, I guess I'm only bringing this up because I believe it's very important for us to own our culture again, and the only way we're going to do it is by creative people getting over what Torraine said earlier, which is egos and individualism. We don't do collectives and collectivism things like we should as much, because a lot of best art came out of groups of people. The Langston Hugheses of the world and whatnot, they came out of groups, and they used to sharpen each other as part of their groups, and one would go one direction, another direction, whatever, very sharply, right? James Baldwin wasn't James Baldwin by himself, right? Like you know,
there was Paris, and there was a whole other group of Black people in Paris, and they would smoke cigarettes, argue, and create shit.
They layered on top of layer on each other, and that created an entire culture that no one could steal. There still hasn't been anybody who can steal Baldwin, right? You just can't do it. I'm sorry. You could try it, but it was too specific.
Coast get close. Coast has gotten the closest, but yes.
Well, no. I should change what I said. I mean, no one outside of us has done the colonization.
Oh, I got what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Like we haven't produced like a white Baldwin, right? Like
I like Seth Godin, but he ain't Baldwin.
And Tim Wise ain't Baldwin, you know, like
he sure the hell ain't.
No.
He's more like Jane Elliott. But my only point in that is I wonder how we get back at some point to having a conversation around the incredibly dangerous individualism poison pill that we took at some point that we still haven't gotten over, because collectivism, honestly, is the thing that is the secret weapon. It is the thing that will, like, collectives, period, collectives of schools, collectives of banks, reopening fraternals, artist collectives and co-ops, whatever, food co-ops. Like, people are part of these CSAs, you know, where they spend money like on a subscription and the farm food just comes to the thing and they go pick it up. Well, there's Black farmers that, you know, somebody should be setting up the collectivism around all these things, right? Am I just talking pie in the sky? Is this
no? I don't think
we got 2 minutes up. I was gonna let Torraine go first because I know his time's
no. I don't think you're talking pie in the sky. I just think that some of the things you talk about have to be tempered with the realities that we live in 2025, and also the fact that, you know, as you said, there was a lot of people who were in these same areas. You mentioned the Harlem Renaissance. A lot of the Harlem Renaissance, as we know, it wouldn't have even existed without a brother named Alan Locke, who actually funded and published a lot of these brothers with the New Negro. There was a magazine that came out actually in 2025 called The New Negro, where some of these people like Claude McKay and like Langston Hughes and I'm blanking on the name, but that's a shame because she's from my home state. You know what I'm talking about? The sister, Zora Neale Hurston. A lot of them got published in that. You have to have people on both sides of it. You have to have people who are not concerned, and this is another thing. You have to have people who are not so concerned with being in front of the camera, who know how to make things work and make things run on time, to have that happen as well. And that infrastructure has to be built up as well too, because we built up a whole culture of influencers who know how to get in front of the camera, but we haven't built up a whole consortium of editors who know how to edit books. We don't have as many people who know how to edit content and know how to put it out on the schedule and stuff like that. It can be done. It's just that people have to know their role and fall into their roles to be able to make that work. And I think there's a lot of that too. Everybody wants to be all in the videos, dancing and stuff. That's part of the issue as well. The one thing
Yeah.
Suge said that was right. Suge was crazy as hell, but that's one thing he wasn't lying about on that. You know what I mean? I got to say that.
Well, Suge wasn't just crazy though. Suge also built a very, very like competent, important business. He just had some other shit get in the way, but it wasn't. There was a lot that was going on there. I think.
I don't know that
You know,
dangling people over a balcony is actually building a business.
I mean, there's a place called Las Vegas. There's a place called. I mean, listen, bro. Most white people bootlegging. Bootlegging. Like if we want to talk about criminal enterprise, that only one color of people gets to legitimize like criminal enterprise to that degree.
Everybody loves the rap.
It.
Everybody loves the Rat Pack, Sinatra and Sammy and Frank and everybody. Who bankrolled all that?
One of them fixed a fucking election, okay? Let's there was a role that Sinatra played in Chicago with gangsters. Anyway, and if you watch that show on Paramount, you can see how it kind of played out a little bit. But I agree with the sentiment, Chris. I just disagree. I don't know if I don't disagree is not the right word. I'm just troubled by it because I don't like having to do everything by myself. But sometimes you're the only one who sees your vision. I've tried to wait on people for different things in my life, and it just never comes. And I think God protects children and babies. Children and fools. And I also think he helps those that help themselves. And I try to always help myself because I can try, right? When I got a little bit of paper or my little thing torn, first thing I did, hey, we talked about working. Hey, bro, let's actually work. Give me your vision. I didn't impede on your artistic vision. I'm like, let's just do it and see where it goes. Chris has always looked out for me in different ways. And when I can, I try to look out for him. Like we have that consortium, but I also just think that like, how do you take that to the next level? And this is the other thing. You need motherfuckers to be like creative and not creative. You need them to also be professional. You need them to hit their deadlines. You need them to like I've put up bread for things where I'm trying to give everybody that I know and care about love. And I've had situations where not one of them hit a fucking deadline. So it's like if we gonna build the news station, then that means that we gotta build the news station. We have to do those things. Yeah. And I think that also we tend to expect hookups from our people a little too much, man. Like if I really fool with you, if I fool with you and Torraine, I fool with you and y'all got a restaurant, it don't help y'all if I come in and say, hook me up with a meal. Like I need to come in and like actually spend money and bring people and we actually spend money. Like, and again, a barter system to support those in need is very different than what I'm talking about. We're saying like you deserve, and on the other thing, Wallow got in trouble for this. Mark Lamont Hill got mad at Wallow. Not mad, they broke from Philly, but Wallow was talking to these black business owners and was like, it ain't enough for you just to be a black business. You got to be good. And Mark Lamont Hill got on him, but that's fucking true. It's true. Like I don't want to have. If something messes up, I don't want people to be able to be like, it's a black-owned business, huh? And be right. I don't want that. And again, I'm not trying to play in the stereotypes. I ain't trying to do none of that. But again, I believe, and I'm not doing it because I do believe we can be excellent. I do believe we can be professional. I'm not buying into that. I work with young people, and one of them will be late, and they'll say, I'm operating on CP time. Don't ever say that shit in front of me, because that's not a trait that we share, bro. And I'm black as fuck. But me being late to things that I'm supposed to be on time for, that's not a black trait, bro. That's a you trait. It's okay. But like we talk down on ourselves like that.
Time is white supremacy. I just want you to know
that. Listen, I've heard that. We did a show on that, bro. Yeah. Like I've heard somebody.
Time is a white.
You know what though? There's a whole strain of quote unquote black studies that's coming out now where everything is white supremacy. You know what I mean? Getting up and running is white supremacy.
And that's just cheating. It's not
being 200 pounds and 4'8" is white supremacy. You know, if you don't like that, you're being a white supremacist. If you like paying your bills, that's white supremacy. You know what I mean? If you don't like this particular type of person, if you don't like this type of person, if you don't let this person get in your bed, then it's white supremacy. Man, look, shut the hell up. I'm just tired of hearing it, man. I'm tired of hearing it.
I don't know how many African cultures where being emaciated, skinny was ever the thing, though. I will say that much. That feels very much like a Nordic thing.
Nah, man, that ain't got that's got something to do with famine and UNICEF. That ain't got nothing to do with being black and nothing like that, man. That's about what people's body types are. That's a different beast. I'm talking about. I don't want to jump onto that subject, but I'm just saying.
I am overweight.
People find
It is.
attractive.
I am
think
overweight.
they
It is
found
not
it
white
attractive.
supremacy for you to tell me that I'm overweight. I know that I'm overweight. I know my BMI is not where it should be. I'm not playing these games.
Charles, who created the BMI?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Like just because my people didn't create it don't mean right. And listen, I get it. Listen, man, and everybody say that. Like, I'm so happy for Lizzo. That woman struggled and worked. I am so happy. And you know what? As soon as she lost that, remember all that talking? And I was like, y'all need to leave her alone, because I do think that it was mean spirited and stuff like that. But as soon as she lost that weight and held a ceremony where she burnt all that shit and said that old fat bitch is dead. Oh, hold on a second. I thought she was like, yeah, that's the love that I had because that was the situation I was in, but I didn't want that shit. Listen, man, I'm saying this as a heavy person. I want to be here, bro. I lost all of my grandparents. None of my grandparents are alive. Half of them had diabetes. Like, I wish Ozempic was a thing back then. Listen, I'm not trying to veer us off in those places. We just got to stop. There's a real white supremacy out there. But when you bastardize it and you make everything that, like, go back to a story we heard as a kid, like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, Chicken Little. When you keep screaming some shit, like when people misuse racism, some shit is racist and some shit ain't. But if everything is the same level of racist as the last thing, then when something really racist happens, motherfuckers can't tell the difference, and they don't care no more.
Sleeping in bed till 11 o'clock is not self-care. You are lazy. Get your ass up out the bed. That's not anything to do with that.
Total white supremacy, which you just said there. But anyways, let me ask you this: do you think that white supremacy can make people who weren't fat before fat?
I know where you're going with this. I know you.
I think food sold in the United States can make anybody fat.
I need you to look at the people of Fiji. That's what I need you to do. I need you to look at the people of Fiji who had a very lean diet and were were the kind of example of what strength looks like until the colonies came. And
there was for everybody who don't know what Chris is talking about, a couple of years ago, there was a very prominent black scholar who said that Donald Trump made her fat. Donald Trump came to her house and hog-tied her and made us sit in the sizzler for 8 days.
You laughing, but I do think that listen.
We're gonna get canceled before we get started.
I'm not gonna let y'all off the hook with this one. So do you agree that some of the shittiest food is the cheapest food and the most available?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then you have to go to get good food, so like a fresh goddamn apple. You got to go to the suburbs in some cases, right? Like you got to find a Whole Foods where you can't afford a goddamn thing to have like organically grown things that aren't full of hormones, right?
Shit, I was gonna say even this shit there is a hormones. Them motherfuckers fat too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's to the point where they have to charge you more to put something on there like no hormones. So this is double the price, right? Well, how did that happen? How do I get the Corn King hot dogs that can't even stand straight when you hold them up because there ain't no beef in them? How'd that happen? Because that's what makes people fat. Honestly, listen, the food that is most available and the cheapest is what makes people fat.
Absolutely. Well, there's a thing called corn, and we grow a lot of it here. And you got so much excess. And then there's this thing, so we can create this thing called corn syrup. And then mix production of things and then preservatives. And we can keep things and move things across a very, very big country. And corporations have a lot of power and money, and they do this thing called lobbying. And then they decide which farmers get subsidized and which ones don't, what you grow and what doesn't. And if y'all don't know, for the people, I know the world is starving, we burn tons of food a year because we have an economy that we have to maintain. Again, that's the other thing when we do shows like this, is like, what's the entry point, right? What's the entry point of the conversation if we do news, right? Because I don't want to take for granted that some people may or may not know that. But at the same time,
I think y'all being fat phobic for one. I think y'all just fat phobic.
Fat. I can't be scared of myself.
This what I say about the fat phobic thing.
I'm not fat, but I know what I see.
All the bad stuff in our community. Everything that is bad,
they dumped it in the community. Like they dumped the crack cocaine of food into our
Chris,
community.
when you were fat, did you not say you were
then they're
fat?
like, oh, y'all fat now. Of course.
If it was just us being fat, we are a fat nation. I'm part of this fat nation.
Everybody
All of
huge.
us. Yeah, we're just bigger here. The portion sizes are crazy. Like, and again, and a lot of this
sizes, and you mentioned the corn and all that shit.
Absolutely.
All those additives. That wasn't there 30 years ago.
But here's the thing, though. I've been fortunate enough. Fortunately, by the grace of God and my own willpower, I'm not a heavy set dude, but I'm tall and I'm slim. But the thing of it is, even with that, this isn't something just endemic to Black people. Of course, when we were talking about economics, Black people get the worst of it. But we're in America. Everybody big here. I lived in Europe for a while, and you could always spot the American. You know how you could spot the American? They were the biggest person on the trains and walking around and stuff like that. That's just something that we carry everywhere we go. Between us, the Australians, and the British, those are the three fattest countries in the world. Some of those people, some of those countries, especially Mexico, doesn't have this level of industrial development that we have. But some of it's because of the food, and some of it's because of the habits. And this is tying back in what we said earlier about the whole idea about how CPT time and things that we take on and we think of Black traits. Some of these things are not Black traits. They've just been given to us, and we've accepted that stuff. And we can stop that just the same way we pick those habits up. They can be reduced and they can be brought down. That's all I'm saying.
You don't think that we have different habits of time and things like that because we have different histories?
I think we have different ideas around time because culturally, but 10 o'clock is 10 o'clock in the United States, wherever you are. There's no way around it. I'm
Chris,
sorry.
don't do this.
Listen. No.
Two things can be true, bro.
Do this because listen, if you
Two
make
things can
people
be
work
true.
if you make people work from sun up to sundown for 400 years, and then for 50 years you don't, not 400, like 200 years, and then 50 years you tell them you got to work from noon to 6.
We're not doing this, bro.
Eventually, whatever, eventually, people are like, I ain't got to do none of that shit, right? So there's this thing. This is gonna drive y'all crazy. Why do Black people stay up later than everybody else?
I'm not doing this, bro.
I'm
not feeding into this fucking
at night?
stereotypical terrible
Because
joke.
it's oppositional defiant. It's actually there's a term for it. I can't think of it right away, but the reason why Black people stay up later than everybody else at night is a form of resistance. And I wish I could. There's a literal scientific term for this. There is a behavior that we have to stay up late, to stay up until
white meth heads stay up longer than everybody. I'm not doing this. I rebuke it in the name
They
of
never
Jesus.
go to sleep though. That's different. They never go to sleep.
That's the point. That's what I'm saying. Listen, man, there's real white supremacy here. There's real systemic things, a reason why our food is fattening and all that shit. And it's still us that's gonna be dying soon. It's still me with no grandparents. It's still like, yo, Charles, you need to get your ass up and go work out. Like, I need to go do this if I want to be around. It's Chris, you changing your diet and your habits because you got kids and you want to be there for them, right? Like, and again, we can talk about time. If you told your wife or you tell your daughter you're gonna be somewhere at a certain time, I think you're gonna try to make it there at that time out of respect, right? Or at least let them know. I just think common decency, I don't want to, let's not put white supremacy in place where common decency can live. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's just like, fam, like, my time matter like yours.
Right now, there's a growing evidence shows that the lasting impacts of racism have put certain groups in a position to have a tougher time getting a full night's sleep. Experts argue that,
Torraine, you run a company, right? Wait.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, Chris, you run a company, right? And you hire people. And if those people are late every single day and they say, but this is just a racialized thing, are you just gonna keep them on your staff? Or are you a white supremacist?
Come on. It's taking a long time to answer, brother. Yes, exactly. Time is go and put it together, brother.
I froze up. I don't know. Like,
I know you. I know
you didn't freeze. We watched you the whole time. You was moving and thinking.
Yeah, brother. You're brave. I can see them. I can see the ribs working, brother.
But what you said didn't come through. What did you say?
I said you are a business owner. I said if the staff of the people that
Right.
you hire, if they're late
Right,
every
right.
single day from months on end, are you just going?
Yeah.
And they say, well, this is a racial issue that I'm having, or are you gonna like discipline them or potentially fire them and be a white supremacist? I'm just curious.
Ooh,
Like,
see, like discipline and discipline. What I'm gonna do? Whip them?
no. See, this is
You dancing around the
and
question,
this is
brother.
why. And this is why, like,
You
this is
avoid
why
it.
you like. Where's our news station? Where's our
Exactly.
vision?
At some point, it's real talk though, man. At some point, we
See,
all three of
praying
us
for
here.
patience. Thank you very much.
All three of us
Thank you
here.
very much.
Yeah, all right. If you like living inside, you know what time it is. But here's the thing. Tell the
We gotta
mortgage,
end this damn show, man.
tell the mortgage company, tell the mortgage company that money in time is a white supremacist
Absolutely.
construct.
Right. Tell them it's a construct. Your ass is
Yeah.
gonna be homeless.
What I'm saying
Time
is this.
a construct. It is a construct.
It is. But what I'm saying is this. All I gotta say is
Fucking gas bill ain't. That's real as hell.
We know we're laboring under a system of white supremacy. We're aware of that. We know the things that we have to face, and we know the things that have been put on our backs as Black people. We understand that. But even with all that, there are certain things that we can do for ourselves to try to give ourselves at least a running start, or at least give ourselves some form of competitive edge. And I feel like being mindful of time, and also from a respect point of view, being mindful of other people's time is something we can take care of, and we can be honor that. If you have health issues, and you know the history of health issues in the Black community, especially when it comes to weight and it comes to diabetes and stuff like this, if you want to be 60 years old and still have your foot, then it's a behooving on you to be able to start changing some things in your diet so you can start maybe being here for your people and being here for your loved ones and stuff like that, or even being here for yourself. There's just certain things that you know inherently that you need to do. And what we do, and let's be honest, we all Black here, what we do, I'll put it off. I'll do it. I'm going to do it one day. One day don't ever get here, and then one day shows up and you were talking to St. Peter, like, why you ain't do it that day you said you was going to do it. We all got to go, but I'm just saying, what kind of way you want to be?
And I will say this much: you have to. This is the problem when people make these type of arguments. This is the problem with the argument is, then you have to answer the question why, and is it a deficiency? Is it genetic? Is it biological? What is the? Because now you're saying that this is characteristic of Black people to not do something that other people do or whatever. I don't know. So you got to trace that down then. What's the origin of that? Where did it come from? How did that start? Why is it happening? Is it biological? Is it genetic? Is it nature? Is it nurture? What is it?
Look at this shit.
You know,
work with the time to find out
like
why they're late and then change the time. These people are not serious. I'm sorry. It's just, I can't. I'm sorry, Chris.
Okay, wait.
No,
let me say this.
Because I know you. I know you as a boss.
No. This is what I'm going to say to you as
I know you as
like,
a successful business owner.
Just hold on 1 second. Like, to prove that it's a construct, at my age, I still cannot tell military time. So when people put stuff into military time, you might as well be converting into the metric system. Because at my age, I still can't do the metric system.
Subtract 12, bro. That's it. Boom. You're done.
What? Say it
Subtract
again.
12. Just subtract 12, bro.
Yeah. Or just add when you go from 12, just add an hour with the regular 12. Like right now it's 10:38. That's 22:38. You know what I mean? Just add a digit to every hour after 12. That's simple. But I grew up in a military family. So I know
someone says to you 2200. I'm gonna
say, oh, that's 10 o'clock.
I'm gonna look at it.
It's 10 p.m.
And Lord, don't start with the metric system stuff, right? When somebody says, this is such and such a kilometers.
But you're in America. America is not the metric system. So I mean, and they tried that in the 80s. Right? They tried that in the 80s. We didn't get it, so we stayed where we were. But that's
yeah. But
no, Chris, work. Listen, bro. Work with the time to find out why they was late. Change the time. I caught a plane here. I caught a plane from Chicago to San Francisco. I can't show up an hour late and say this is a concept. You know what's gonna happen? Your ass is gonna be stuck, and you're not gonna get on your plane, man. Like I'm saying right now, we have to have this discussion.
That's not even true. And that's what logic. I fly Delta. Time is definitely a construct to Delta. It really is.
No. Here's check it out. Here's what I'm gonna get you right now. Look here. Y'all know where I live at, right?
Right.
TL.
Okay. Let's say it's 10:39. Let's say you got a flight at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
You go to Hartsfield at 10 o'clock and think you're gonna get on that flight at 11 o'clock. Play with it and see what happens. you better get there 3
Right.
hours ahead of time, and you're gonna sit and you're gonna wait because you get there. You get
And
there.
how many
You got to
times
take
was that
2
plane supposed
trains
to-
inside the
how many
damn
times was it supposed
place.
to take
Bro,
off at
no, let me
10:30,
let
and it
me
didn't
just
take off until
let me
11:30?
no.
How many
Let
times
me,
did that happen?
that's irrelevant though. If you playing with Hartsfield,
No,
if you
it's a
brother,
construct
no,
to the
yeah,
airlines.
yes, but it's a contract you got to follow because listen, if you try to get somewhere flying out of Hartsfield, you got to drive or catch the train to get there. You get on the train, you get off at the airport, then you get off at the airport, then you got to get to the gate, then you
Why
got
are
to
we
get
playing
another
these games
train,
with Chris?
then you got to get
Listen,
another
man.
train to get to the gate. That's about a good 3 hour hump, brother. I'm
Bruh,
saying that.
Chris done been to Hartsfield a ton of times like me. We've been there together. Listen, man, the 3 of us met up in Atlanta. Chris, you own a home. You are a father. You are a husband. You are a business owner. If you got a contractor working on your house and he gives you an estimate and a time when it's just supposed to be due and it's a month over, you just don't be like, well, it's a time's a construct. But these M's, this money is continuing to calculate. Listen, white supremacy is a real thing, but this is stupid.
You know, my kids definitely think it's a construct.
And you know what? No, I hate to say this, but see how our folks do. We done spent damn near 30 minutes talking about why we can't be on time.
That's why we ain't got shit. This is it. Like this is.
It could have been done.
About this.
See what I'm saying?
We didn't say why we can't. We just said that it's a white supremacist concept.
I don't give it. No, I'm sorry. I'm not giving this to white supremacy. Get your ass up out the bed.
I'm not either.
Trying to go do something.
White people don't get to just.
It's 9 o'clock. Get up.
Right.
Get up. It's 9 o'clock.
Speaking of which, I've been terrible at managing time. I need y'all to say goodbye. Give your quick thoughts. Torraine, give us your final thoughts so you can get up out of here, and then I'll go and we'll leave it to Chris.
No. It's been an excellent conversation. We talked about some heavy subjects. We talked about some things that need to be changed. We've also had a little bit of fun, and that's what you get on 3 the Hard Way. So I just want to thank everybody for coming through to listen, enjoy us chopping it up and everything. We will be here on time next Wednesday to be able to have this conversation. 9 o'clock.
Well, no white supremacy constructs will take over next week. I will say this: I enjoyed the topics as well. The topic I wanted to say I didn't get a chance to say in a moment. I like. Show me more white people that's begging to say nigga, please. And the reason why, it's almost like for these people I hear y'all where you ever had a homie who really liked a girl and you just needed him to see the girl with another man, or she need to tell him flat to his face, I don't fuck with you. That's why I like these white people begging to say N-word videos. Like, because you need these people to show you and tell you they do not rock with you. They don't like you. They want to have dominion over you. So, more power to it. And to the white people, I mean it. If you want to say it that bad, I need you to go into the biggest hood with the most ghettoest people that you think from what you think they are, and just say it and have at it. You should tape it when you do it too. Send it straight to me.
No,
I will
just tape
support you.
Don't just tape it. I got a full camera rig set up. Call me. I will meet you in any city you want to be at, and I will line it up with lights and everything else. I just want exclusive rights.
Your freedom of speech. Charles and Torraine support your freedom of speech. I'm gonna throw it to Chris, but freedom of speech forever, baby. Let me see you do it because I want to believe you.
Call me because I want to shoot it. I want the rights to it.
Consequences. You get the freedom of consequences with the freedom of speech. They go together like peanut butter and jelly, right? It's called physics. Like, you say that, you get slapped. See, one thing happens. That's just how it goes, right? All right. Well, listen, I appreciate this conversation too. Unlike these two brothers, I do believe that racism exists. And believe
oh my God. Oh my God.
And I
the Ku Klux Klan invented the clock.
This is why I say critical race theory was the idea that if you study long enough, all the systems that you live within, you will find in the United States, you will find white supremacy as a chief accelerant in all the systems that we live in. And that's the systems of banking, commerce, schooling, education, law, all of them. In every area of life activity, you will find it. Now, people get fatigued. They get tired of it because it's in everything. It's in everything. That's why they get tired of it, because it literally is in everything. It does govern every system in the United States, right? And the first 3 or 4 issues we talked about tonight are about people in systems that are completely corrupted by white supremacy and racism, because there's people who believe that it's like a flaw that we could fix in the United States. I think Derek Bell and others were saying that it's a feature. It's not a flaw. It like literally is. Stop trying to think that you're going to stamp it out. It literally is in the system, right? It's like trying to take pee out of the water. You can't do it.
right? Like once it's in there, right? That's the way. That's why I see it when it comes down to things like, oh yeah, why is your diet the way that it is? How did that food get there? Why do you have the patterns that you have? Where did you grow up? How did you grow up there? Why did you grow up there? How come everybody who grows up there has a certain set of things that nobody else has anywhere else? All those questions come back with the same answer. You ask that question in the universe and it all comes back with the same answer. So anyways, people listening and watching, we appreciate you as always. I appreciate these conversations, and I do believe that racism exists, so power to the people that believe that still.
Racism is a real thing, and
it's not a social construct.
If you do happen to be a person of color and you happen to be late, you can still control that. B. With that being said, that's Torraine, that's Chris, I'm Charles. This is 3 the Hard Way, and we will see y'all next time. Peace out.